let's talk about defining the market. So the last two lessons discussed fragility of a move and how to start categorizing how over or under leveraged a coin is, how to assess risk in taking entry, how to look at the entirety of the move basically in a form where you are saying, okay, what becomes good spots to buy? Is it here? Is it here? Is it back there? Is it up here? Right? So we kind of created this ranking system, at least inside for ourselves to start to say, okay, well, this looks like high risk, low risk, along that balance of waiting too long on one side of trend versus greed on the other side, or risk, greed or risk on the other side. Today, now we focus on creating a bank of expectations against the market. So for this, I am going to use two coins, and I'm going to just take a coin that has moved up recently, like TNT. That's sure perfectly fine. My chart on TNT is very basic but accurate, so it's kind of perfect, versus kind of Bitcoin and what it's doing. So when we look at the market in its state of where it's at right now, we have to start developing a set of expectations as to where we can start to see where those risks can be taken. We've broken down the immediate part of a move. When you move up into a smaller cycle of a move, and you can start to say, okay, we have hold levels here, and possibly we have break levels down here, right? You have break. Oops. You have a break level down here. So you kind of already have this bank of information of kind of what to do on this trade, right? You have this bank of information of what to do with the expectancy of where your risk is lying on this trade. So instead of analyzing the smaller piece of this, we need to now start thinking about the larger piece of what can happen, right? So you start to, and this is going to be very accurate in the crypto market. It is incredible how parabolic everything is to Bitcoin. So you start looking at something like Bitcoin and its health, and so you can start ascertaining what it's doing in the market. So maybe in a case in point like this, you go back to something like February, and you're looking at your right side chart here. We're going to go back and find February as well. So you've got February back here. So we start kind of building this expectation of the market and what it may or may not do, and the correlation between the markets with all coins are always going to be parabolic to Bitcoin. You can see here on March 12th on TNT. TNT is starting to move up quite a bit against Bitcoin starting a recovery cycle over here, right? So you have kind of a immediate dump right here, followed by a interim recovery cycle right here, and then a more immediate recovery cycle here, with an ending of that right there. So you'll notice TNT as you hover over those same spots. So TNT starting a downward trajectory here, right, ending right in this point in time. And if you look on the chart on the left where it's hovered, you can see where Bitcoin has moved up, which will therefore, in fact, later allow TNT to move up as well, right? So clear this chart and maybe select and highlight the exact day that has happened. You can kind of see that a little better here. Right here is where it happens on TNT. So right here is where TNT starts its recovery. And let's zoom in here a little bit. So TNT starts to take a move up right in this sanction right here, right? This little piece of this move right here. TNT takes a move up, and then Bitcoin falls. It prevents TNT from moving up further. TNT's move starts right here, right? By a few days after, right here, TNT has kind of topped off to its part of its move, which we are now going to go on TNT and highlight that level. So TNT has its level right here that it backtests, which is great. It backtests this valley, which is exactly what it should do. So focusing your eyes back on the left side of the screen, TNT hits its valley and then has a pullback for quite a few days there. And you can see the reflection of the chart from Bitcoin having its pullback to TNT having its pullback. So this is nothing new or nothing that is that staggering or eye-opening. but rather to start to understand how we can assess these coins in the marketscape, especially right now, or even in the future, when we have pullbacks in Bitcoin, or we have moves up, or recovery markets, or distribution markets in these altcoins. This is going to be a great way to gauge, instead of breaking down the micro parts of the move like what we did in the last two. Now, instead, we're building the repertoire of what we can expect in our markets for the coming weeks, so we can use this technique and say, okay, what can I expect to happen in the next few weeks? Where is some of these altcoins going to end up in a week based on what Bitcoin is doing right now? So when you're looking at the bottom of any range or the tops of any range, you can quickly see what is coming to follow. So you can see right here, as Bitcoin recovers, on the right side of the screen, if you focus your eyes, this day where Bitcoin has had this, and I guess we'll zoom in on both sides of the chart here. You can see where Bitcoin has right here had its bigger move up, which back attacks its valley. So this is going to be key, right? This is going to be a key piece of information here. You have a valley here on Bitcoin, and then you have a fractal valley right here that it gained, or right here, or wherever the valley is. It could be a 4-hour valley right here, right? So if you are looking at these two events that can happen, and you are following Bitcoin and looking at what valleys it's attacking, you'll notice over here on this side of TNT, you have this valley here, which was kind of represented by this valley on Bitcoin right here, right? That's that valley right there on Bitcoin. And then the next valley that is untested on TNT is in a bit of a larger range up here. So then you have that valley there. And you can see as Bitcoin comes up and pushes both valleys in one day, TNT very much does the same thing. It pushes its immediate valley, which is this guy right here, right? The one that I'm just moving right now. You can see that it has pushed its valley that same day that Bitcoin moves up, and Bitcoin moves up two valleys and continues to push up. So therefore TNT can and then push its next set of valleys up and up and up, and it can continuously go until it finds its stop, right? So there's kind of always this direct link between what's happening with Bitcoin in this moment here and breaking this valley and where it's finding its move versus something like TNT or MDA or any one of these altcoins. So I want to go now into current part of the move. I want to take a look at Bitcoin and why TNT has possibly taken this move where it did. So TNT breaking out of a pretty big trend there, and kind of just looking at Bitcoin and seeing what exactly caused that move, right? You will have in the market these cycles that things go through. And I want to bring up maybe MDA as well on the left side of my screen. We're going to look at MDA because MDA tried to have a breakout as well from trend. So you have this trend on MDA, which was something like this. And then you have the local piece of it, which would have been right there as well, which now brings this guy out to here, right? So if we look at where these moves kind of happened, MDA and TNT were very much aligned in what they were supposed to be doing, with the difference that MDA and TNT were probably 1 to 2 days away from each other of breaking longer term trends. And also TNT had a bit of a longer trend it was testing. Like TNT had a bit of a different type of move it was testing, but nevertheless, they were both prepped to have kind of this larger move associated with it, right? So where's the distinction between something like MDA that's ready to break up and possibly test its upper range versus something like TNT that actually does execute that upper range, right? This is something where if you're looking at these kind of date and timestamps, you'll see that. And let's draw this one to this swing right here. So you'd have that, and this one would be blue because this is going to be global to that local. And then this is the larger trend in the move right here, which in that moment would have been right here as well. So we are going to take this replayer tool and put it right here. Watch this move and notice when MDA is breaking its trend, right? Right there, when MDA breaks its trend, notice that TNT isn't testing its trend yet. So there's something that's happening here. You will have a sequence of moves like this. You'll have maybe a move here, a move here, a move here. And each one of these lines represents a day. And maybe on each one of these days, one of these coins is going to be testing its next breakout. Like maybe today, for this example, this would have been MDA, and this next coin here would have been, I don't know, we'll just use an example. This could be BQX, and this one could be IOST, and then this one over here is TNT. So over a sequence of days where you have different coins trying to break out of these patterns through trend, maybe MDA was first. So on this day, MDA got compressed against trend, and it possibly tried to take a move up through this point here. You can see on the right side of the screen where this had already tried to success through its trend. TNT is not breaking through its trend yet, as to where MDA should be trying to break through its trend because it has tested it here and it looks like it's trying to float through, right? As to where TNT is 1 day behind. So TNT is just testing its trend. Test trend again. It goes over trend, right? And then you can see basically almost the exact same thing is happening here, right? You have a larger body candle on both charts, right here, testing this trend. You have a smaller body candle right here. That's a distribution candle, same on both charts. You have two smaller day by day breaking through a trend. Literally the exact same thing is happening, but why does one move more than the other? So you break through to the next day. They both have this piece of distribution. And then what happens in the next day, the breakout day? So here's the difference, right? You have one coin breaks up over top of a trend, and the other coin seems to just kind of float in midair, right? So you kind of take this and you would adjust it to the swing right here now in this moment, and this you would have taken and adjusted to here, the swing in the moment, right? You can see that actually TNT, the way it was set up against MDA, right? MDA on the left, TNT on the right. You step through another day. As to where TNT has broken a large piece of its move, MDA is still failing to gain its level, right? So furthering, even going to the next day, MDA flatlines. Well, on one side of the screen, you have, let's see, 250% versus, the even the base of this move. What happened here is where, how much do you have? Maybe 20%, something like that. So you have 38% compared to, and that's calculating actually the base of the move. If we were just to account for the trend breakout is actually 243%. And then the trend break on this would be right here. Right? This is where this is only 15% of the move. So like, why does this happen? What is dictating this piece of the move? You're going to have a lot of different coins testing trend day by day by day by day. Each coin will be some kind of span as to where MDA might have been in 12 hours, and then BQX might have been the same day. It's testing breakup, but it's happening in 16 hours, and then IOST is maybe happening in 26 hours, and then TNT in our case happened in 28 hours, right? So kind of all of these different things that are staggered, these different events that are staggered against each other. So this happens because of Bitcoin, and we're going to go back to a Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin USD, and we're going to see what happened in that moment on Bitcoin. So you have Bitcoin right here, right? You will have Bitcoin throughout its day doing different things, right? We got an hourly chart there. Sure, that's fine. We can use this hourly chart here, and TNT had breaking over that trend and confirmed it. Well, what happened in that same hour on Bitcoin? It had been kind of on this big crazy move up, pulling back all the way out here. Bitcoin had been on this big crazy move up, and then it started to stabilize. And if you start drawing the trends on Bitcoin, you see one right here, right? That would be the global. The local would be right here, right? So you have this like this. This is the local right there, which would then be pulled out to here to kind of show this break of this move as it's going through, right? So just get rid of that one for now. So it's not needed. So we have kind of this moment here on the 21st at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, testing an origin level. So let's mark out our origin level here. Origin valley right here that it was trying to break over to gain this right off of, where is the origin level, would be right here. This. Oh, come on, Megato. This moment that had been. What are we on? The hourly here. Let's see where the 4 hour is. Okay, so it is this right here. It is this hourly, which is fine. So you have this origin level, right? This is something that needed to break in order to eclipse the larger part of this move. So this origin level does start to break here, which creates this next level that has to break here. And in order to break this level, right, you're going to have this valley right here that needs to break. So you kind of have this step ladder of valleys that are, breaking into each other and testing over trend. So what is happening in that moment right here in with trend right here with Bitcoin about to move up? As you see, walking through this move, and let's maybe zoom in a little closer here, a little tighter. As you can see on the left side of the screen, as Bitcoin is breaking its trend, and we're going to get it nice and tight, make sure both charts are on the hourly. Here at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you can see where Bitcoin had been testing its local trend, how it had been testing here, right, from up top, right here, creating trend to trend right here, right, which in this moment back on TNT, this moment here is down here at the bottom of its range. So when it tests trend and completes the top of its range, as Bitcoin is moving up, Bitcoin dominance is moving up as well, right? Bitcoin price goes up, things start to fall down, right? As you step through the move, which is the correlation between the two, right? It creates trend, which on this side here is going to be somewhat of the backside, right? So as this is pushing through, oops, we stepped back one too far. Let's move back over there. As this is pushing through trend, so is TNT in this moment. So this is a measure of sequencing as to where possibly in this moment here, where you have this candle here that's 9 o'clock, this candle that's 10 o'clock, this candle that's 11 o'clock, somewhere between an 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock, there's this big breakup of this move above Bitcoin's trend. So you have on TNT, it is a measure of the right place at the right time. And the thing is that there are going to be a lot of coins doing this, where you have this exact moment at 10 o'clock. And if TNT, for its reason, is confirming a trend that is long-term and it is breaking over a significant trend, right? And you want to look back here, pull this out a bit, and TNT's trend is from here to here. And Bitcoin in this moment here is breaking its trend after coming off this big move up. So let's look at the bigger picture. Bitcoin had been on this pretty crazy move up, right? Bitcoin had been on this never-ending ride up. It finally comes to test the trend, right? In this moment that is testing trend, as it's breaking trend, so is TNT. But TNT's move is above a pretty important trend, right? TNT had already broken its trend, and it's just kind of waiting to see if this is going to reject this move in TNT or if it's going to succeed this move in TNT. Now, when we go to MDA, I'm assuming MDA would have been somewhere either past this kind of moment of prime or too soon in the moment to not correlate with the same kind of break over trend that can confirm this move in TNT, right? So this is a part of assessing market health. And when we look at coins to break out and why some coins break out in some moments and why other coins won't break out, right? This becomes a test of what is it doing parabolic to Bitcoin? Because you can go to Bitcoin charts and you can find significant trends and you can see the hour where they break, and then you can see the moments where they are breaking their important trends too. But what trend is this breaking, right? Is this breaking a local trend that's only local for possibly a span of, I'm not sure, maybe 5 days? Or is this breaking something in TNT's case? What was this breaking, right? How big was this trend that it was breaking? Well, it was breaking a trend from how long ago? It was breaking a trend from March all the way into May. So close to a 2-month trend in a moment where Bitcoin had allowed all coins the ability to breathe, right? So therefore leading to kind of this setup in TNT. And then you would go and we look at MDA and where does MDA fall into this? Because MDA was relatively the same move. MDA should have had relatively the same exact breakout in this moment. So MDA was trying to have this breakout in that moment. I know because I was in this trade, and you have trend to trend, right here on MDA. You have trend to trend. Let's kind of zoom in here. So all coins will relatively be doing this exact same thing. But if you notice, it wasn't ready like MDA was. In this moment here, where this was breaking over trend, MDA was close to breaking trend. But if you look on the right side of your screen, we're actually not over trend in this moment on MDA. TNT had already confirmed its trend fractally. So it was already well over its trend. It had already been there for what looked like maybe a couple days. Let's take a look actually. So from May 17th all the way to May 21st. Yeah, it had already been in that moment. And I'm assuming this had other local trends that were going to break its part of its move. So let's actually draw a trend as well on MDA. So you would have had that there, and you would have had this here, which leads you to this swing here. So this swing here was the moment that MDA was trying to break, which would have then moved out to this swing here. But that's fine. The fractal nature of this, it won't matter which one of those two you use. In this moment, breaking over top of a pretty significant trend. If we actually look at MDA now, you're probably going to see almost the exact same thing as to where MDA, I need to find that moment right here. Right there. So where is MDA's trend? It goes like this, and then it goes like that, which will be to here. So MDA probably had very much the exact same trend that was breaking. Likely all coins will have this exact same trend that's breaking, right? As to where you take a look at this move and you see this here, which will adapt to this here. And you can see how it's trying to break trend. You can see it. This is not to be mistaken. You can see where, as to where MDA was in its moment breaking its trend off an uptrend, where MDA is trying to ride this uptrend to break its trend, MDA is probably trying to do the exact same thing, right? This is very common in our space where you see coins that are almost identical setups, like TNT and MDA looking almost identical and possibly being a few hours away from each other. And had Bitcoin done this a few hours sooner, possibly MDA would have been in this moment where it could have broken up and above trend, as to where TNT is testing once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. That's what MDA is trying to do. That's what MDA is trying to do right here, right? It's very much doing the same thing, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's trying very much to break above that same trend, right? Like you can see it right here, these 8 candles. And it does break above its trend, as most coins probably did that day. And then it has its, move up. But how big is it? It's 10% as opposed to TNTs, which is much bigger. But this is a part of the markets where you will have coins that are identical in their move, and they look the exact same. They're breaking the same trends. They're relatively the same. But Bitcoin dictates which one is going to break out, because maybe Bitcoin in this moment was breaking out, and we've already looked at TNT and coordinated with this candle right here. So if you look at what was happening on MDA in that moment, MDA wasn't in a breakout in that particular set because it's at the bottom side of a trend, as to where MDA is already testing to break out of the trend. So the little push that Bitcoin gives every coin to that trend in MDA's case, it's a few hours away, right? It's a few hours premature to TNT. Had this move happened, I don't know, let's say over here for TNT may have been the coin that came down and was right here trying to create its new uptrend to attack this a bunch of times. But we weren't. We were right here in this moment, and MDA was that coin that was down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, trying to hold its base before it comes back up and attacks trend. So this often becomes a sequencing thing or a measure of timing as to where both of these coins in either scenario, where does capital injection go? Because both of these coins probably would have been relatively low volume. MDA in this moment would have been probably 100 Bitcoin throughout the day, and TNT relatively similar, or maybe MDA would have had slightly more because it's a bit more of a popular coin. So maybe MDA has, 150 Bitcoin, 24-hour volume, and then maybe TNT has like 70 or 80. But in this moment, 1,000 Bitcoin gets injected into the market, and before the end of a 4-hour candle, all of a sudden you have 3,000 Bitcoin volume in TNT, because that's how fickle it is, right? That's how these decisions are made, as to where this is just offset by a few hours, as to where if the charts were reversed and this was on the top side as Bitcoin was breaking out, and this was on the bottom side when Bitcoin was breaking out, this move over would have gotten the capital injection and all the volume, and it would have moved up. And there's not to say that this is the only thing you should be looking at, because there's also the technicals that are going on, right? Like TNT has origin level here and origin there, some pretty notable trends that are being broken. And what does MDA have, right? You look at MDA and it has a level here that has to be broken. So, again, MDA will probably have very much of the same levels. Most charts will be pretty similar, right? MDA will have very much the same levels, where, this level here, right here in time. Oh, I guess it would have been this level. Sorry, I marked the wrong one. This origin level. So this has an origin level, as to where this is not an origin level. This is just a valley inside of a bit of a distribution chain. So this origin level here would have been here on MDA. So MDA didn't have an origin breakout level. So there are the technicals that matter too, right? You've got to look at those as you have a breakout level here. So when you're testing a breakout level, and then it breaks up and boosts over. MDA doesn't quite have the same strength in its move. But nevertheless, more importantly, what's happening here is just the raw sequence of timing as to where Bitcoin is trying to break this coin out, right? Like this happens constantly. It's every coin on all time frame. They kind of have this tricky sequencing against Bitcoin. Bitcoin will allow coins to breathe, and whatever is closest in that moment to breaking out will have its breakout. If there are a list of 5 coins that are all set to break out because they're testing some super long-term trend, maybe you have 5 coins, you have DENT, you have BQX, it doesn't matter. You name 5 coins, it doesn't matter what they are. You have 5 coins and they're all relatively breaking out at the same time, same chart, same trend, because that's what happens. Coins all have the same charts in the end with variations, and one has an origin level here and one has, maybe one has an origin level here and the other one has an origin level here, but this one's trend is like this and that one's trend is 4 hours away. But then this third coin has a tested level here, but really when you fractally break them down, within a 3-day time range, they are all breaking some super long-term trend. So that becomes which one is sequenced to break out in the moment that Bitcoin will allow it, because that's where capital injection goes. That's where people are putting their money is the coins that are doing something like this, that are ready to break out. They've tested trend. And in a moment where Bitcoin allows it to breathe, it can break over trend and it can break an origin level and it can just soar straight up, right? And then it can do other things like it did here, where it was, break over top of a trend and back test. And, I'd like to go to Bitcoin Diamond right now, because Bitcoin Diamond recently had a move up, and it was, relatively to the moment that Bitcoin Diamond moved up, it was, the trend on this that was way back here, the trends that are way back here. And I've had this chart drawn forever. So this was just, too bad that I missed this, because it was what happened in the moment. Like, I'd like to see what Bitcoin was doing there. See what the correlation, like what breakout did Bitcoin have? What moment did Bitcoin have that allowed this to happen in this moment? What did Bitcoin do in this moment to allow Bitcoin Diamond to break out? Was it just a matter of Bitcoin flatlining and Bitcoin Diamond broke out through its trend? Well, let's take a look. You have trend top to trend top right here. And then you have this moment right here where Bitcoin breaks over top of its trend, right? So this is another issue of sequencing. I'm sure there was many coins that were set to break out this day in this exact moment. And let's go to a 15-minute chart even and see where this. So you can see that this, in this moment, like what happened on Bitcoin that allowed this to happen? Because this is like always the question I ask myself is like, okay, what had happened in that moment? And this is going to typically be what it is every single time. It's going to be trend to trend breaking in a moment where a coin is breaking some kind of longer test, right? Like this Bitcoin Diamond test was, I don't know, like swing high right there, back all the way to here. And this is marked to probably a daily or a weekly candle. That's why it's floating through. But that's fine. You could just massage it to be the moment of breakout. But that's more of a practice thing to find the exact moment like this where it's breaking out, and then even probably go down to like a 3-minute candle and just see how insanely correlated these moves are, and where it had broken over trend, and you will see how Bitcoin allowed this thing to breathe. Okay, let's go here to this moment where this is breaking out. Right here. So we have 3-minute charts on both of these coins. So this is down to the minute, right? So you have a 3-minute candle here, you have a 3-minute candle here. You break over top of it, it hard closes the next 3-minute candle, and then it's gone. This is a matter of sequencing. This is a matter of right coin at the right time, watching Bitcoin to see what it allows for in moves, because you can see the correlation that happens. And this timestamp at 8:30, 8:33, 8:36, 8:42. So from 8:30 to 8:42, what was happening on this chart? 8:30 starts right here. The first candle close over top of the trend. The first hard close, right? The bottom side of that candle. The first hard close at 8:30. There, you break over trend. The next candle, your already volume has come in and you're already gone by 8:39. It's already gone, right? And when you look at this, see how closely connected these are. This is just a matter of sequencing, right place, right time, right moment.